What's going on, guys? Anime Yokage back at it again, and today we're going to be talking about One Piece, chapter 1118. And I cannot tell you how good it feels to be back talking about One Piece. This is originally the manga and anime that got me into wanting to do YouTube videos. So it's good to be back. It's good to be able to hit these strong, and let's get into it. So in the chapter before this, we actually found out that the Denda Mushi that was broadcasting the signal of Vegapunk's old transmission, giving all the history and all the backstory behind all the lore of the world and everything like that, was actually coming from inside the ancient robot. And I know you, along with myself, has been wanting to see something from the ancient robot, and we're still not getting it. It's the Iron Giant is more useful than this particular robot right now, but that might not be the case in the future, because I feel like we get a little glimmer of hope of how powerful this adversary can be towards the end of this chapter. But anyways, back into this chapter. We left off in the last one where Workery actually attacked the giant robot, knocked it up into the air and into the sea. So we come right back in to where the giant robot is falling into the sea and about to crash into multiple different ships. I'm not sure if any of these ships are the pirate ships or the Elbaf ships or anything like that, but definitely landing on top of the marine ships, which I guess the Marines and the world government kind of shoot themselves in the foot with this, but at this point, do they really even need those ships out there? And they're not doing anything. We see as it's sinking into the water, though, that the ancient robot is still trying to broadcast a signal. He's saying things like, and their name, glug, 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 was, glug, glug. And he's talking about the will of D. He's trying to, in the broadcast, talk about the name behind the will of D. What does the D stand for? We even get the ancient robot kind of calling out to Sun God Nika, where are you? As it sinks deeper, it's saying things like, where did you go, Joy Boy? And the ancient robot is saying things like, I wanted our crawls to pass. You were here just a moment ago. And he's referring to whenever Luffy transformed into Gear 5th. Luffy is transformed into Gear 5th a lot of times on Egghead. And so over and over again, this buildup of resonance with the drums of liberation have awoken this giant robot over and over again. And kind of like, it's enough now to where his conscious is starting to run. And I guess it has some kind of AI or consciousness, or even the soul of somebody else in it or something, because this was an inanimate object, but this inanimate object has memories and a personality of some kind. And the giant robot doesn't seem to be concerned that it's sinking into the sea. It can only think about how strange it is that Joy Boy was just right there and now he's not there anymore. And where did he go? And now some of these Marines are getting to see what the Gorosei look like. At first, they're getting to see Workery, and they say, what is that, a giant boar or a mammoth? This island is crazy. And of course, they don't know that the other Gorosei have arrived on the island. And of course, on top of that, they have no idea that the Gorosei can change into these mythological beasts. We then flashed back around the world where we're seeing that people are reacting to Vegapunk's message being blown off the air all of a sudden. They're thinking, did someone cut off the broadcast or did someone kill Vegapunk? And they are saying there's no way that the world government would kill off their greatest mind just because he'd broken a few laws. Because if you do remember that Vegapunk apparently said, as according to the speech bubble, that he committed some grave sins and broke some laws. So the rest of the world doesn't know if that's why the transmission got cut. Is the world government really that adamant about making sure that this stuff stays secret? And if so, why? We then cut back to Egghead Island, because now that the ancient robot is taken care of and the transmission is no longer going out, we must proceed with the original mission. And the original mission is taking out the Vegapunks. York gets called out to by the Gorosei, and they say how many of the Vegapunks are still active and alive. She claims that there's only 2 Vegapunks active and alive, which she says Atlas and Lilith, which I'm pretty sure Edison has found a way to make sure that his presence is no longer seen. Because the last time that we saw Edison, he did sustain a lot of damage going through the force field and getting destroyed and burned up a lot. He's all bandaged up as a robot, which doesn't make much sense, but it's manga's way of telling you that someone's injured if they're wrapped up in bandages. I just find it funny that we were not shown the actual death of Edison, yet he is not included here when York is referring to the Vegapunks that are still alive. So I believe that Edison is still out there, but he will be spared because the Gorosei will have no idea that Edison, a part of Vegapunk, is still alive beyond Atlas and Lilith. And of course, they're going to keep York alive because York is the way that they're going to harness the Mother Flame and still be able to make the scientific advances that they were whenever Stella Vegapunk was still around. And the Gorosei are relieved because they are also finding out that Punk Records is apparently programmed to keep functioning and growing after the death of Vegapunk. And they're saying, wait, we can still benefit from this. We can still access Punk Records through York. I don't know how a brain keeps surviving after the person has died that it's tied to. This is One Piece, anything could happen. But to get a little bit more exposition on that would be fantastic. But that also tells me that Stella, the original Vegapunk, isn't actually dead. He's not actually dead. He's being kept alive somehow. And that gives me hope that a new satellite for Stella can be built. This is just a theory of mine. Nothing has said this at all, but I just think that's a possibility now. And the moment that we thought would never come to this chapter or this arc, the Elbaf ship is actually taking sail. It's leaving, finally, after all of these chapters of them yelling, "Start sail, get out of here, begin moving the ship." It's finally happening. And as the Elbaf ship is leaving, it's setting sail, Dory and Bragi jump on from the back and grab onto the ship as a last moment ditch effort. And as we can see, Bonney and Luffy are already in the ship, and they're both celebrating, saying, "You made it!" And they're like, "Of course we did, come on!" So it's good to see that we're actually moving forward the story of the Elbaf ship moving forward and actually beginning to leave. That is signifying actually getting to the end of this Egghead arc. We get a panel of Luffy, Sanji, and Frankie talking back and forth with Dory and Bragi, saying, "This is a giant ship? It's so huge. This is crazy." And they're also trying to figure out where is Usopp, because they believe that Usopp, he isn't there, and also Chopper isn't either. And I believe that Usopp and Chopper are still aboard the Thousand Sunny trying to make it to that ship. And we get to see a little bit of the aftermath of Bonney fighting off the Vice Admirals and their ability to make sure she stops them so they can get away. And it shows Vice Admiral Dahl and Vice Admiral Bluegrass and even these mechanical sea beasts all being turned into like childlike forms of themselves in order for them to be defeated but not beat up, and make sure that Bonney and Luffy, the Straw Hats, and the Giants can all make a clean getaway. So we're not actually getting to see that fight. That fight was off screen, but we are getting to see a little bit of the aftermath. We see in the next panel that Bonney is kind of, recouping from the fight, and she's laughing, saying the Marines are going to be in hot water for letting them all get away. And we see in the background that Oimo and Kashi are very beat up, and they're kind of going back and forth with each other about being so beat up from the battle. And that's when I see Luffy and Sanji's there and Frankie, and Luffy is so excited to see Oimo and Kashi, and they're just as excited to see him. And we see Sanji on the ground, and he's actually calling back to the Thousand Sunny with a Den Den Mushi, trying to get a update on the situation of what's going on. He gets a hold of Nami, and Nami says, "Don't worry, we'll be right behind you," because they've already all set sail, and they're worrying about how the Thousand Sunny is going to keep up with them. She lets them know that they're going to be able to launch into the ocean because of Edison and his feats in order to get them away from the island. She does inform them, though, that she may need their help in order to land safely, because I believe they're coming from up top and it's going to be a long drop down. And Sanji reassures her, "Don't worry, there's nothing to worry about. I would never let you ladies sink. And even if you did, I would come rescue you." And the little comedy of Usopp saying, "Why don't you care about the rest of us?" And Frankie says, "And don't worry, I'll make sure the ship's repaired." He says, "Stop ignoring us." And I really think that if they were to come from the top and shoot out over the Elbaf ship, that the Giants could just simply catch the ship. It's a toy ship compared to them. 2 or 3 of them would be able to catch it easily and then set it down on the Elbaf ship. It would look like a lifeboat on there. But back to the chapter, something's coming from above, and it's none other than Marcus Mars coming down in his phoenix kind of weird yokai form, and he's heading straight for the Elbaf ship to make sure that they don't get away. We see Marcus Mars nosediving towards the ship, and then we come over to Luffy that's actually in the kitchen of the ship. And the giant chef is trying to talk to Luffy a little bit, and he's saying, "Sorry, no time for that. I have to eat and get ready to fight again. Just make sure you make more food for later." Because we all know that Luffy can completely regenerate from stamina of 0 all the way back up to 100% as long as he has some food. We actually saw that multiple times just in this chapter of him getting some food in him and being able to fight at 100% again. And And that's when we see Marcus Mars begin his attack. And whenever he begins his attack, he has some kind of like beam or some kind of fire that he's breathing towards the ship. And the giants, using their smaller buckler shields, are really trying to stop or defend this attack, but they're saying it's so hot, it's hard. And Marcus Mars successfully lights the ship on fire, and all the giants jump into action to make sure that the sails of the ship don't get burned, because if the sails of the ship get burned, then they might have a very hard time escaping with no means of propulsion. So the giants that caught on fire are falling back and need the fire that's on them to be put out. And as they're doing that, Bonney is talking to Atlas saying we need to get Kuma and Vegapunk off the deck of the ship. We can see that Kuma and Vegapunk's body are still very much there and they're still carrying them. I wouldn't suspect that they'd leave them anywhere anyways. So this makes sense, but they also need to make sure that they preserve Kuma and try and preserve Vegapunk's body. I assume that Stella body is done for, but I mean, I think he got stabbed through twice. Yeah, he got stabbed through twice, I believe. That old man body is gone, but I don't believe that he's gone. I do believe that a new satellite will be made and be able to tap into Punk Records, which will make him brand new again, I would suppose. It cuts over to Dory and Broggy saying, I guess we can't ignore these monsters because if they can fly, they can chase us to the ends of the earth. There's nowhere we can escape. And Marcus Mars says, none of you will be permitted to escape. We see that Luffy's done eating and he's rejoining the battle again. And there's earthquakes starting to begin whenever he is re-emerging back into his Nika form. Bonney sees him and says, wow, Nika. And Luffy says, again, I have no idea who you're talking about. And we see Dory and Broggy begin to dance to the beat of the drums of liberation, but they're like, wait, we can't be boldly dancing. Someone's got to put out these flames. So it's just kind of showing that the drums of liberation are infectious with everyone who believes in the Sun God Nika. And now we're beginning to get into the controversial part of this chapter. Not politically weird, anything like that. It's just controversial to the plot and the story. I can't say that I'm a fan yet. I may be a fan later on, but I cannot say that I am quite a fan of this yet. And you may or may not agree with me, but we'll see what it is. Luffy goes up to Bonney and says, hey, don't you want to help me blow these guys out of the water? And Bonney, of course, replies with, there's no way I could keep up with you in that form. You're literally Sun God Nika. And Luffy says, of course you can. I don't know how your powers work, but I know that you can somehow. And she remembers back whenever she asked Luffy initially about how he looked on his wanted poster. And he says, oh, that's when I'm completely and totally free, referring to his Gear 5 Sun God Nika form. So remembering that explanation that she got from Luffy back then about what that form represents and how he feels whenever he's in it, she begins Distorted Future. And that's when she says, give me a future where I'm totally free. And if you haven't guessed it already, that's whenever Bonney transforms into Gear 5 Sun God Nika Bonney form. Now, initially, I don't like this. This is kind of like, it feels like we're moving more into the territory that like Black Clover did recently, whenever they're all fighting and then everybody gets the power of anti-magic. It's just, and then, you know, like the Love and Thunder movie where Thor is able to bestow the power of Thor amongst all the children that are there, and it just becomes so overpowered. The Gorosei were having a hard time fighting off Luffy. If he was fighting off multiple Gorosei at a time. Now that Bonney has joined, there's going to have to be some real big drawbacks into turning into Sun God Nika. This can't be something that she can easily do. Well, we saw here that she easily did it, but I mean, there has to be some kind of limitation, or there has to be some kind of, I don't know, it can't be just a regular thing that she can do. If it's a regular thing that Bonney can do, now the gravity of turning into Gear 5 and the importance of Gear 5 kind of gets thrown out the window, because if she can perform this Distorted Future in herself, she can do it to anybody as well. And that's whenever the Gorosei can even sense that something is not right, and they're sensing Sun God Nika, but two Sun God Nikas. And even the Marines are seeing this and saying, what are those, albino giants? We also cut over to Kuma's blank face looking up in the sky, and we even see Kuma's blank face looking up into the sky, and what a full circle event for him to await the return of Sun God Nika and instilling this belief system within Bonney. And now Bonney herself turning into Sun God Nika, now that she's seen the form and understands that this is what pure and total freedom looks like. Again, I don't know if I like this yet. I don't know if I like it yet, but I do like the full circle event with Kuma, because Kuma deserves that. And in one of the last panels of this page, we see the ancient giant starting to wake up again, saying, "There you are." And nothing said that knocking this thing in the ocean was going to knock it out of commission. The transmission may start up again, and the ancient giant robot may get up to start helping in this battle, because the ancient giant robot is the size of the Gorosei, and we still haven't got to see how powerful that thing is. It can't be a complete pushover like this and just walk around and get beat up. Because in the theory of Chekhov's gun, if it was introduced as something so pivotal and something so incredible, it can't just be thrown to the wayside like this. It has to have major significance. Because as of right now, even the Denden Mushi being put in the ancient robot wasn't that crazy. They had to knock it into the ocean once, and it was done for. So where's the giant layer of protection for this transmission? I'm waiting to see what happens next chapter. I really hope that Bonnie's Nika form makes it to where she can only do that for a minute tops, because there can't be a Sun God Nika, just a second one, running around and being able to do this whenever she wants. It's not good for storytelling or writing. It's not good from a writing aspect or storytelling aspect, but by no means am I saying that Oda's writing is not good. He has proven time and time again that he is the greatest. But what I am saying is I'm waiting to see next week what he will tag on to this, or how it'll completely unravel. Because as of right now, I'm only getting to see half of the outcome of this, and I'm waiting to see the other half before I judge whether I really actually like it or not. So if you're with me and you think that this is a good take, or you're waiting to see if you like it as well, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know. And again, thank you guys for coming out. And I'm going to try and get another video out here this week. I think I'm going to try and cover Boruto for once. If that's something you guys want to see, also let me know. And thank you guys so much. I'm Anime Okage. See you later.